on eBay, and I've been getting great audio reports on 75 meters on the traffic nets, and seems to work here for Zoom. Well, good morning. Let me see if I can turn the camera. That's more or less right, and I can fire up my coffee. I'm sitting down on the floor today. This is a Zoom meeting, so we can do it however we want. The radio's equipment is behind me, although I'm going to be restructuring that today. Field day is my second most favorite event. The tops on that is the November sweepstakes, and then after field day comes the California QSO party. There's a rumor that field day is a contest. I'm going to share my screen here for a while. Boom. And we'll just take the screen itself, and then I can come here and give us this is from a talk I gave to ARCA on contesting, and I mentioned field day in it. Did you know that field day was first run in 1928? If you look back to old issues of QST, the June issues always had the Jeeves and Gildersleeve cartoon characters on the cover of a field day. Field day is an operating event and not a contest. What does that mean? It means that the real purpose of field day is to help us learn how to become better operators and better organizers. So field day is an emergency preparedness exercise, if you ask me. Field day, although last year and this year probably accepted, but field day is not often people's first exposure to ham radio. You'll be set up out in a park somewhere and people just start wandering around and they go, wow, what are you guys doing? Next thing, at least when I used to work with W6SW, we'd have visitors wander over, and within 10 minutes, we've got them in the operator's chair. All you got to do is say 4A, SJV, 4A, SJV. So field day is also an excuse, to put it bluntly, for a beer bust. And you say, well, I'm actually here to play with the radio and we're trying to learn how to do emergencies better, but you're falling all over yourself. That's a great way. Field day brings people together. That's important because sometimes people can't always make it on a particular Saturday for a club meeting. And we hear us talk about radio, but we don't actually get to see each other do it. So field day, we kind of come together and make that happen. And we learn from more experienced operators. Up until recently, I used to go with W6SW on top of Mount Abel. Mount Abel, as you head south towards Los Angeles, you come through the Grapevine and you come down a hill, and then you go down another hill. Well, that first hill you come down is Fraser Park. And if you get off at the exit and go, it's a total of 6 miles west and then 6 miles up the mountain. As you wind around and around, you end up on Cuddy Valley Road, and eventually it's the Campo Alto place. We used to do this every single year from 90, our first time Mount Abel was 96, and then up until my last time there was about 5 years ago now. But this is an example of how it's done. I thought my picture, I have another picture of this. So let's see here. Now let me cancel out of this. and show us some relevant pictures for our purposes here. This is something I found. It's a throwaway. It is a picture of an antenna. You want to make a listening antenna, spread aluminum foil and tack it to your wall. This is not unlike the apartment antenna that Howard wrote up in QST a couple of years ago. It's the same idea, really. Now, this picture from W6SW Field Day, as I'm going to suggest, really does well with HTs, having a handy talkie. And you got to have a frequency. So we used to call in on 146.535. That was the frequency we used in Los Angeles. The problem is when you get up 8,000 feet in the air, 146.535 can also get into Bakersfield. And now we're jamming their call-in frequency. So they used to get real mad at us. But have a call-in frequency so that you can keep in touch with all the members. So we can have a setup on the dock itself, and we can have a setup in either or both of the boats, and we can talk with our HTs amongst each other rather than having to run all over the dock. When my batteries would die on Mount Abel, I'd have to go jog a quarter of a mile across to the other station. Get a lot of exercise that way. A lot of us started off like this guy. When we first started, we didn't know what we were doing. Somebody slapped some headphones on us and they stuck us in front of the microphone and said, all you have to do is repeat the guy's call sign and say 4A SJV, Sierra Juliet Victor. And this guy eventually managed to figure it out. W1AW has a schedule every day.
Whiskey, 1 apple whiskey.
Let me see if I can blow this up a little bit higher. Well, I thought I was, whoops. W1AW has an operating schedule, and one of the most important things they do from a field day standpoint is they send out a bulletin message. Later, I'm going to talk about some of the bonuses in field day, because again, field day is an operating event. We're trying to improve the way we do things. And one of the ways to improve that is to read the bulletins that are transmitted by the ARRL every day. They make a transmission on voice, on CW, and on RIDI. When I used to go up with the group on Mount Abel, we would bring along a shortwave receiver and a tape recorder. And when the bulletin message would be sent out in Morse code, we would record it. And then the next morning, over a free cup of coffee, I would sit down and transcribe the bulletin message. If we get a bonus for sending to the ARRL our exact copy of that bulletin. You get 100 points for that. That's the equivalent of making 100 contacts. So at some point, we're going to want to delegate someone to copy the Morse code bulletin. And if you can do it on RIDI and voice, just to prove that we can do it, it's a very good thing to do. The W1AW schedule is in the back of QST magazine every month. They tell you what time of day and on what frequencies. I usually, for field day, copy them on 20 meters. because the propagation between here and Connecticut in the afternoon is usually about the right way to do it. Field day is a 24-hour event with the allowance of setting up 24 hours before. So officially, we can begin setting up equipment. That doesn't include sailing into the dock time or anything like that. That's getting yourself there, just like driving up on the mountain or some other place. But at 11 o'clock on Friday, we can start setting up antennas and putting radios together. And then 24 hours later, field day starts. And field day is actually a 24-hour event. It begins at 11 a.m. our time on Saturday, goes till 11 a.m. Sunday. If you don't set up before field day starts on Saturday, you can operate 3 more hours on Sunday, but nobody ever does that. So there's nobody to talk to in those last 3 hours. So we took the attitude, screw it, set up on Friday, and then we can have it all done and sit back and have a brewski or two. And while we're having that brewski, we could be tuning in W1AW to get the bulletin message. Nothing nicer than starting off field day with 100 points because you copied a bulletin message. Now, I bring up this screen because a very important thing happens twice a day on the radio bands. It's called gray line. Right? We call it the terminator between sunset and sunrise. About an hour before sunset to an hour after sunset, and about an hour before sunrise to an hour after sunrise, the ionosphere in your local area is in a really interesting place, and you can get a duct literally to the opposite side of the world. Oftentimes, the gray line for us finds the other end being in Israel, North Africa area. So Kazakhstan is often can come through during gray line areas. I say this because in field day, people forget that those around the world can hear us, even though we're playing pretty much by ourselves. We are allowed to talk to DX stations. I used to do a phone stint on Sunday morning for W6SW about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, and invariably stations from South Africa would call in. Turned out there was an opening from Mount Abel to South Africa on 20-meter sideband. So if you really want to work some juicy DX field day or otherwise, get on the radio an hour before to an hour after both sunrise and sunset. Now, a lot of people are not up in the morning for that unless you do the contests at night like I do. So I wake up into the sunrise, and it's very interesting to hear some stations pop in for like 10 minutes and then boom, they're gone. I've had the antenna pointed to Asia, and Finland will call in a DX contest because the ducting is just right. Now, if you have the latest issue of QST, inside is an insert. It's all about field day. And of course, the advertisers, they manage, oh, there you go, thank you. And the advertisers, of course, manage to slip in there, buy our new $3,000 radios, and you really have a good field day. So this is definitely worth reading. But here's a piece from that. Six tips for field day success. Well, number one at the top, we've been talking about that a lot. But, you know, be safe isn't just not, not infecting people. Be safe means don't do something stupid. Years ago, W6SW was scouting as a new, maybe another possibility for setting up a station on the mountain, and he got himself lost. And the more he tried to find his way back, the more lost he got. The only thing he had going for him was a handy talkie. And he called in. They actually eventually had to send a helicopter in to, to help guide him out. So be safe means don't get yourself electrocuted. Don't fall off of mountains. If you're going to shoot a line over a tree and you pull too hard and the branch comes crashing down on you, be careful of all that. Have a plan. Some people, when we used to be up on Mount Abel, these two old guys would come up with their RVs and they'd drive up on Saturday and they'd make like 5 or 6 contacts. They just wanted to sit around and drink their booze. So they could justify, well, we're doing field day. Yeah, right. So they had no plan, but they had a good time anyway. However, I've found that it's actually more fun if you have a plan, and we're working on a plan. So we've got some sailboat action happening and we've got the dock action happening again. A plan also means try to figure out which people are best operators for which area. At W6SW, they used to banish me off to the far corner of the campsite. I would run 20 meters CW. I was the CW op. We had a 3-element wire Yagi just for CW, and then we had another 3-element wire Yagi where Jim would run sideband on 20. And we could keep both going together because the antennas were end to end and they weren't interfering with each other. So my calling was CW. Then at night, when some of the radios would shut down, I would sit down and get on 75 meter sideband because that's a lot of fun. Some of the most fun in field day comes after the sun goes down because 75 meters and even 160, if you can do it, opens up and there's a lot of rag chewing style field day that goes on. And I think that's a lot of fun. Assigning tasks, kind of the same as assigning operators. We're all good at something. Some of us are better at putting up antennas. Some are better at wiring up power supplies on radios, because you don't want to do what I did my last field day on W6SW. I somehow managed to reverse the power leads to my ICOM 7000, and that was the end of that for field day. They had to drive us up an old Kenwood 450 radio so that I could be on the air for that year. Tom and I sent our ICOM 7000s in and got it repaired. So he has a new control head and I have new diodes in my radio. So it's better for me, it would have been better that someone else hooked the power up for me rather than rely on my stupidity. Schedule operators. Operators sometimes, some people are morning operators, some people are evening operators. Some of us, the way I used to in the olden days, I could actually go 24 hours, keep chugging coffee down, and I would find a station to sit at because we had about 4 transmitters going. By the way, there is a thing known as a GOTA station, get on the air is what GOTA stands for. And GOTA is an extra transmitter that you get to use for free. The original idea of GOTA was to allow beginning operators to get on the air quickly. And while everybody else is setting up your site around you, you can start running field day. So the GOTA station, by the way, can be a separate call. In fact, I believe it has to be a separate call sign. So we often elected somebody to use their call sign. One year I registered K6F, kilowatt 6 Foxtrot, and that was our GOTA station. And then when Geraldine sat down at the microphone, it was kilowatt 6 Foxy Trot, honey. Excuse me. Um, Female voices, by the way, single sideband operations, the more women that can sit down behind the microphone, women's voices are a commodity item when it comes to field day. You will attract a lot of people that want to talk to you and give us a higher score because of your voice. On CW, you can't tell if you've got a male or a female operator, but on sideband, you can. So schedule female voices behind microphones whenever possible. For people that are morning operators, let them operate in the morning and they can wander around later, vice versa. Some people are better in the afternoon, and some people, after they've had a couple of brewskis in the evening, feel like they can do better operations. We'll leave that open for debate. There are a lot of things to get bonus points on. I'm going to show a slide in a moment on bonus points. Copying a message is worth 100 bonus points. Running pure battery power, bonus points. But all the bonus points don't do any good if we don't submit a score. So someone will have to be elected to actually submit the log and the indicator of bonus points. So here the bonus points add up. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger here. That, whoops, boy, that's a little bit too big. There we go. So if we set up in a public place, we can get bonus points. Technically, the yacht harbor is a public place. Rose has often been behind our public information table. We get 100 points for that. Sending a message to our section communication manager. So we need to find out who the SCM is, and we need to get on the traffic system and send him a message. Copy the field day message perfectly, we get 100 points. If you make a satellite QSO, wow, 1 year on the mountaintop, KJ6DD brought up a satellite antenna and they were sweeping the antenna across the sky, tracking one of the satellites, and we got 100 points from that. Natural power QSOs. That's a way to get some bonus points. We've actually been visited about, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago, the last time we operated from that site that got closed down. We had a visit from our section communication manager, so we get 100 bonus points. Up on the mountaintop 1 year, N6VI, the vice director for Southwest Division, poked his head into my tent, and I got a picture of me and N6VI. We got 100 points for that. Youth participation. Now, if we can get people 18 and younger, that's important because we need more youth into things. You may know that I operate from NX6T oftentimes for contest operations. We have brought several youth into the world of contesting, and KI6RRN took first place for sweepstakes last year. And he's, what is he? He's 21 now, but he started with us when he was 17. Couple of other youth that are now winning contests because they started with us, older people. We Elmered them or mentored them, and now they're better than us, basically. Down at the bottom here, it suggests that we can get 50 points by using the field day entry website. Well, it turns out more and more contests and events they want you to submit your log electronically. Nobody submits it by the US mail anymore. Um, and now, Rose, well, we can't necessarily invite people in. We can get some sort of a media bonus if we can get maybe a mention by the Alameda newspaper, something like that. Or we can send them a picture from last year that they might want to publish. And I believe that is some of the bonuses that we get from all of this. Now, how do I go?
You gotta zoom all the way out.
I'm just going to close it out for a moment.
Or that. That's fine too.
Making satellite contacts. This is a bonus that we can get. Is anybody here satellite competent? Well, that was a nice idea. It's something worth learning. While I took a break from my CW operations the year that we did satellite work, and I got to sweep the antenna. So I learned how to track a satellite by hand. If you have software and a azimuth rotor, you can have it done for you automatically. But this is field day. We're doing the WB6 ACU method. Fake it and make everybody believe that you know what you're doing.
Ron, I've got the
So
equipment.
I made everybody believe that I could track a satellite, and we got 100 points. We actually got copy from that.
I've got the equipment and I'll bring it. I've never been successful. I've made a few attempts,
See
but
anything that I have forgotten. So let me get out of screen share mode here for a moment. There we go. Typically, when an operation is set up, you'll see one or two transmitters. But I've always said, why not set up multiple stations? I could never convince W6SW to go to 5 transmitters, even though we actually had 5 transmitters we could set up. This club, when I have worked with the club several years back, somebody was set up to run VHF. So it'd be very good to have a VHF station for 2 meters and 440. And if you're really brave, try to set up 220. Having CW operators, that's why I do CW, is a good thing because we get more points for CW contacts than you do for sideband contacts. I believe it's 3 points CW and 2 points for sideband. I believe digital contacts, RIDI and FT8, also are worth the CW point. So that's another reason to have multiple modes taken care of. We're setting up on land. We're setting up on sailboat. As we get closer to the end of June, Tom can clue us in on how we're going to do it. Tom, you and I will probably get together before then, making sure that we have everything we need to set up on the boat.
Yeah, and we'll get Roger involved also.
Autumn, oh, I saw your lips move, but yeah, I think you were
I said we'll
muted.
get Roger, get his boat
Yeah, I
over there,
think
then
you're
make
muted.
sure he's set up because I do, well, when you're finished, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, I don't hear a word you're saying. You're unfortunately muted.
Oh,
That's weird. Roger or Ron, can you hear me?
Oh, I'm not hearing.
Right, yeah,
yeah,
we hear you.
you guys can hear me. Roger's muted.
I just realized my headphones timed out here and they turned themselves off.
Yeah,
I
because
couldn't hear.
Bruce Gillis was telling you he had some satellite stuff and you missed it, so.
Oh, that
Okay,
was-
yeah. Yeah,
that
my
was neat.
headphones shut themselves off after 10 minutes if it doesn't hear any audio. All right. Now, I'm sorry, Bruce, what did you have to say about satellites?
that was me. I said I have the equipment, but I've never made a successful contact. I've made a few attempts.
Oh, it's Roger.
Yeah.
Well, this would be an exciting time to maybe actually pull
Sure.
that off.
Yeah.
Because you'd be worth 100 points to us, man. That's
It's not much.
worth that's worth 50 CW contacts or 100 sideband contacts just from making one communication.
Yeah.
Oh, very good. Does anybody have any questions about field day?
Well, I think we got to figure out what logistically we will need for that day. I think last time we had a tent up on the deck. Was that tent, did that tent belong to the club or is that provided by one of our members?
Oh, there's 2 cupolas up there. And I'm sure we can use one of them.
Okay, all right.
One of them is for the back door or the senior crowd that has their little hot toddies in the afternoons.
Okay.
But we can use one of them, I'm sure. And they're not they're permanent, so.
Okay. Roger, what sort of equipment do you have on your yacht?
I've got an ICOM M802, a 25-foot whip with a automatic tuner, so it'll do 10 through 80 meter. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a waterfall, so it's you just sort of have to spin the dial so you hear somebody. I also have a wire antenna that I put up last time to do an inverted V. I do have a modem for doing digital work, but I was never able to make it work either on the boat or at my home computer. If somebody wants to play with that, I'll take it back to the boat, plug it in. That's that. I guess, yeah.
Well, as for the inverted V, I have done sailing trips and sent an inverted V up to the top of the main mast. So those work really well.
Oh yeah, works great. Yeah. And I do have CW capabilities, straight key and also a paddle. So.
Great. Now we got 2 CW operators, hopefully more.
I'm not real proficient with CW. I'm maybe up to 12, 13 words. So, but
every contact is worth 2 points. That's the way I look at it.
3,
so,
right?
Or yeah, whatever that number is. So yeah,
I've mentioned it before. I've mentioned it before. I'll mention it again. I've got most of the club's equipment. So I've got a couple of buddy poles. I've got 100 feet of coax. So I've got a lot of stuff that the club owns if they want to use it for the field day.
rolls of coax is always an important thing because we're always short one. So
Bruce, do you think you'll be able to make it to field day next month? Or do we need to coordinate ahead of time to pick up stuff?
Who's that? Who's that?
That was to you, to Bruce Gillis. I was asking if we need if you were planning on attending or if we need to reach out beforehand and like pick up equipment first.
Oh, okay. Could you hit it again, please?
I was asking, do we need to reach out to you before field day to like pick up all the stuff that you have, or do you think you'll be there and you'll just have it in your car or something?
Well, I'm not going to just load the car full of stuff. If Ron needs 100 foot of cable, I'll have 100 foot of cable. But I'm just not going to pack goodies for nothing.
Okay, that's fair.
But it's very convenient for me to get it to you guys over at the club.
Okay. Does anybody have a UHF VHF base station that the club can use for the day?
Hmm. Good idea.
Mobile, but not base.
Hmm.
And
Tom's and my ICOM 7000s will do 2 meters and 440.
And
Well,
6 meters.
I mean, if we want to do all our operations out of the boat,
I've got an extra radio I can use for 20 and or for 2 meter and 7 cm. So that's easy to set up.
Great.
when you're
What I
talking
got.
about a base station, what capabilities are you looking for in that for UHF or VHF?
Well, I've got
Is it a matter of power?
I've got an 897.
I think it would be a
So-
matter of power. Ron, what would you define as a?
Well, yeah, good. A base station, yeah, would be not just your little 6-watt handy talkie, but something that can run 25 or 50 watts. And you might even have a Yagi antenna attached to it, so you can get a little bit of distance. It's
Okay,
kind of a-
I can supply again a Yasu 897. It'll do all that stuff, and we can use batteries for power. You don't have to have anything fancy. So we could get that set up in a New York minute.
Great. Yeah. When you're running 50 watts or so on VHF, you're not really draining batteries very much. So then you can go much longer. Great. So that takes care of the VHF end of things.
Question,
Yes.
is the CERT operation going to show up at the field day this year?
The problem right now is we don't know. Jerry has not been on any of the calls for the last 2 months.
Yeah,
So I was planning on reaching out, sending out an email to him after we finish up this meeting, just to see if they will actually be at field day. So once I hear from them, I'll let you know, Tom.
Zach, if
Dean-
Jerry doesn't answer,
Dean's
you
the
might
guy.
try Berman, the
Um,
lower. They're the other ones who came with him last, with the.
It was Dean and Carmen.
Mhm.
Yeah,
uh,
there's your base station.
Zach?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think what I'm gonna need to help the club get ready is what kind of power requirements do we need? Because I'll have to plug into the shoreline with special, the special cables that probably you guys don't have, and then with the adapters to 120 volts, for people that are operating, if they want to operate on shore power. The battery power, that's others, but there was one or two in the first year that we did this at the club, that I think we had a couple of members that were operating inside the clubhouse. They were using the shore power. And then I think we've had outside operations under the cupola or under the umbrella there. They were operating, some were operating on shore power, some were operating on battery power. And I don't know whether anybody had any generators operating with the CERT. Not sure what they had. But anyway, I just need, before, when we get close, we need to know, because Roger and I probably have some extra cables that we can run up to the, from the shore power outlets up onto the deck to get shore power out on the deck. And
Ron,
Yes.
generally, you all want to have the same power supply. Either everybody has batteries or everybody has shore power. For points, that makes a big difference.
Yes, technically that is true. Uh-huh.
Can I talk?
So what is your plan for power?
That I don't know. That's, I guess, why we're having this discussion.
Well, I have a question for you about that, Ron. So
Yes.
I think I was confused about that. So let's say if let's say I have my boat there and I don't hook up to shore power. So I'm operating CW battery only. So
Mhm.
can we log the contacts that happen from my boat with those multipliers, or?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm be making note of that, and I'll research that, and we'll have an answer in time for the contest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, here's the situation on my boat, Roger. I always plug into shore power because I'm running a refrigerator 24 hours a day. I got solar power on the boat, but I guess if Ron wanted to run on 12 volt, it's all on 12 volts through, I'm taking it off the battery. We're just continually charging the battery.
Right.
And so actually we're running on 12 volts, but
Yeah.
we can always turn off the shore power and run for a while.
Well, yeah, that was my understanding, that as long, if we're plugged into shore power, we can't count that as battery. But if we're unplugged or turned off,
Yeah.
then and I don't know how many contacts I'd be able to make before I drain my battery too low, but
I got an extra solar panel we could let you use out there. So.
well, I got 3 solar panels, but only after the sun goes down, they don't do any good, right? So,
Right.
That's 100 points right there.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell, the only thing that would be on the deck would be possibly the UHF VHF station. I mean, we could even run that off the boat if we felt like it, I think.
Well, I got UHF VHF antenna at about 60 feet off the water on the top of my mast, and with separate coax. But I'll tell you, when Ron sets up in my salon, there isn't much room for other stuff.
Oh no, I'm well aware.
We
I
can,
have.
we can do it. That's for sure. We can do it, and that would be kind of fun to do. But
Well, so, you could put the VHF station out on the back.
Yeah.
And
push in the cockpit. Yeah.
Put a little table there. I think you can put a table up in the back of the boat there.
Well, if you get this,
There's one there. I'm sure Roger has one too. So.
oh yeah, and I have that same antenna set up too. So
Yeah.
I mean,
and if you had the CERT trailer, there solves all your problems. They've got batteries up to yin yang, and all your AM FM stuff. So let's see if we can't get Dean to bring his trailer over for CERT.
Batteries are good with W6SW. We could run a full 24-hour contest with 2 marine batteries. So you swap them out about 7 o'clock in the evening and you're good till the next day.
okay.
I don't know, Zach, are you going to go ask for more input or what?
What do you mean?
Well, number one is that I'll talk to Roger off site here, but I need to get. I'm going to be out of town until the 23rd, and I'm planning. Tides are Roger. Tides are good tides in the early afternoon to get around to the Aeolian. If you got a 36 footer, you probably draw at least 5.5 feet.
yeah, 6 feet. Yeah.
Okay, you guys. I run 6.5 to 7, depends on what's on my boat, and. We can go over Buddy Boat and get over in there. Okay, I'd like to get in there on Thursday, so you can kind of see what's going around. So Friday we could get set up. The rest of if you want, and if you want to set up on Friday, if they're going to bring the cert truck in, then I've got to figure out where we're going to put it, or whether they come like they've done the first year, they came on Saturday morning. So, but I'm just thinking of the logistics of getting organized, however the club wants to do it. But I'm hoping to move the boats on the 24th. If we can't do that, we'll have to do it on the 25th, and whatever else needs to be set up, so that we're not, we don't have to have a crazy time on Saturday morning, So I don't know. Those are my thoughts, Zach.
Okay, yeah. I mean, boat stuff, I think you and Roger and Ron can definitely work that out. If you need an extra hand, I could be available. Just give me a call.
Well, you're always welcome, whether you know what you're doing with us or not. You may be a good sailor. I don't know.
No, it's been a while since I've last been on a boat. And then I will reach out to Dean, confirm the cert truck as soon as I can. What day are you leaving? What's your first day that you're not around?
Oh, I'm not around. Well, I'm not around all of June until the 23rd. But I'm planning to make the boat move on the 24th. I haven't talked to Roger about what his schedule might be.
Okay.
I can do that on the 24th. Yeah.
Okay. Tides, I told you, tides look good, so. Wouldn't be good today. It's tide's still going down right now.
Quick question for Bruce. Bruce, that 897, do you have a power supply for it, or does it need battery?
I'll have a battery for it when the time comes.
Okay, excellent.
I have one comment for Rose.
Yes.
Rose, I wish I could give you all of the clearance that you so
No.
reasonably want, and I've sort of apologized for that, because I want to support everything you're doing for the club, but it's just I'm caught between our club here and my other club, and I have to pay homage to the board. That's all.
Of course.
So
No,
I appreciate what you're doing. So.
I was just trying to make sure I knew the parameters before I started writing.
Well, kind of write something up. You never know what as I said, if you just send me what you have or what you feel is legitimate, and we'll be ready to give you clearance whenever I can do that, but I can't do it now.
No, it's okay.
Well, I appreciate everything you're doing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right, does anyone else have anything for field day planning?
Make sure that you bring extra food. We got to keep Ron. I try to keep Ron alive. I don't know. He'll go without food for a long time, but I always put something in the refrigerator for him, Roger. and then I make sure my berth is ready for him. He goes, I think he lies down for about 10 minutes and gets up and works. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. Well, at 2 a.m. it's pretty quiet on the radio because people on the East Coast haven't gotten up yet. So I actually can get an hour of sleep in there.
Yeah, last year I went there in the morning on Sunday morning, and he was up pounding the brass key, already. And I said, "How'd you sleep?" He said, "Oh, I don't know, about 35 minutes."
Well, I'll keep a berth open for him. And a reminder to everybody too, to bring extra warm clothing, because it'll be colder than you expect.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
It's cooler. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
All right.
I think we all have what we need to know for next month. Does anyone else have any questions or concerns?
Only a comment to make. If it's useful, maybe we should put together an informal Zoom meeting before field day, just to talk amongst ourselves to make sure that we got everything coordinated.
Okay, yeah. Is there any particular date you want that scheduled for?
I didn't have a thought, but Probably somewhere in the last week. The last few days coming up to that. We can talk, Zach, you and I can talk more about that, and we'll figure out a way to make that happen.
Okay.
One more comment. Tom. Ron, thanks for the presentation, and it's always a pleasure working with you. And Zach, thanks for taking up the cudgel here and giving us all the organization.
Believe me, I'm like a fish out of my element because I've never had to plan anything like this before.
Well, it sounds to me like you've done it before, so.
I have
He's using the WB6 ACU method.
I have a question for the membership, whoever's on before we adjourn.
Go ahead, Rose.
Tom said that we could invite one official. That's fine.
Yes.
Then my thoughts on that are that the only people that have ever showed up when we do that is Trish Spencer, who is now back on the city council, and
Jim Odie did also, and
Tim
I
Oddie.
even let him on my boat. Can you believe that?
Surprised you didn't push him into the water.
Well, no comments here. Ron, you'll attest, I was very nice. I was very nice with Mr. Odie.
I don't recall that you did anything untoward.
I'm not going to say anymore.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, Rose, if you bring somebody, then you're responsible, or whoever brings the person that's a member of the club is responsible, just to guide them around and, deal.
One of the reason we do that is because one of the things we get points for is inviting officials.
Yes.
If they show up.
right.
I thought was Trish has been very, very good about showing up. So she's
Oh,
probably
yeah.
the best chance,
Sure.
unless somebody has another person they want.
Oh, that's fine.
100 points is 100 points.
Right.
So I'd say go ahead and reach out to her. If you have any trouble
I will.
reaching out to her, I can bug my friend. Her mother is Trish Spencer. So
Yeah, no, that's fine. She's always very good about answering and whatnot.
okay.
I'll make her the official invitation then.
Okay, great.
Right.
Quick question, Bruce, for Bruce Gillis. Last, I think 2 years ago, 2019, we had pizza or something show up for, did the club pay for that, or was that? Bruce?
Yeah, the club pays for that, but, and
Okay.
so it works out.
All right.
I'm sorry, did you hear my answer?
Yes, I heard your answer.
Zach, did you hear? You heard me, okay.
Yes, I heard you. Okay, so I mean, okay, so I think we're good to go. Thank you, everyone, for joining this meeting. I know it was a little bit on the small side, but this year, let's make field day fun, and we should have a pretty good time. And if anyone has any questions, please reach out to Ron, me, or Roger, and we can get them answered as soon as we can. So,
One more comment.
yes, Tom.
Last year, Roger, listen, Ron Fitch put about a 35-foot vertical with ground plane into the salt water, okay? And it was right next to my aluminum mast, I mean, touching it. And you operated on what, 40 and 80 or what?
Yeah, that was an HF2V vertical, so it was an 80-40 vertical, and it ran outstanding.
And I can't be, and it's touching my mast and everything. He was making good contact. So it's amazing what you never know what an antenna is going to do.
Yeah, I got it.
I don't know what Ron's got up his sleeve this year because
Well, I got the same antenna sitting, languishing in storage. I use it once a year.
Well, you may have
And,
to go get
we'll-
that this year because I'm going to be out of town, so I don't know.
Ah, okay.
Talk to Roger. He may help you.
Yeah, maybe Roger can help me out with that.
Yeah.
CQ Field Day. This is Kilowatt 6, Quebec, London, Foxtrot.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Please enjoy the rest of your Saturday. We hope to see you again. We will send out details for the informal Zoom for the setup coming up. Ron and I will take care of that. And in the meantime, please, everyone, stay safe, stay healthy, and we hope to see you next month. Okay?
73 is to all.
73.